Welcome back to all of you. I hope you are all keeping well. As the title suggests to this video, I'm going to be running through 5 common mistakes that people make on freestyle. If you end up liking this video today, then please give it a big thumbs up down below and also hit the subscribe button if you have not done so already. I decided to produce this video because when I actually train, I swim in public swim time. I often find that when I've finished or when I've got a big rest period and I'm standing at the end of my lane, there are often people in the lanes next to me asking technique-based questions. And of course, being a swim coach, I like to try and feed back to swimmers to give them some tips and to explain different aspects of the stroke. Most of these questions are actually based around front crawl. So a typical question would be, I don't feel like I'm moving anywhere on front crawl. Please could you watch my stroke? And obviously I do, and I try and analyse it as best I can in that given time and give them some feedback. So this video today is really about 5 common points I typically see from public swimmers that they're not quite doing right. And so I wanted to share this with you all, and hopefully this can help improve somebody watching this video. So the first common mistake that I'm going to be talking about is head position. I actually find that most swimmers that feel like they're not swimming efficiently or they're struggling have a problem with head position. And a head position in front crawl swimming or any stroke is a massive part of the stroke. It can completely alter the rest of your body position in the water and therefore making it much harder to actually swim efficiently. A lot of people will have their eyes looking forward. A consequence of this is by looking straight forward in front of you, the rest of your body then suffers. Looking forward will cause your hips to drop lower in the water, and then obviously your legs and feet to drop low in the water as well. So if you think about it, if I'm swimming towards you and I'm looking straight forward like I am now, and my hips and my feet are lower, as you see me coming towards you, you can see a lot more of my body, and that causes more drag. So there's more resistance in the water. So just by changing your head position, this can affect the resistance levels in the water that you create. By contrast, some people will be looking straight down towards the pool floor. And this obviously, if you think about it, will lift your hips up and lift your legs up. And this will be definitely more efficient than swimming by looking straight forward. So I would recommend your head position to not be looking at the end of the pool. It should be somewhere between looking straight down to the pool floor to slightly in front of you at a 45-degree angle at maximum. This is going to keep your hips and the rest of your body fairly high in the water, and it's going to help for maximum efficiency on your front crawl swimming. Now this is really a base to then create a good efficient stroke with your arms and your legs. A good correction for head position is to actually be able to use a snorkel. Now I'm aware that some of you might not have a snorkel, but if you are looking to invest in one, you can get them pretty cheap. And this needs to ideally be a snorkel that actually comes in front of your face. And by using a snorkel like this, you don't need to turn to breathe, changing your stroke all the time. You can keep your head still and actually place it in the position it needs to be in for the most efficient swim stroke. However, if you don't want to take this approach or you don't already have a snorkel, then there are 2 drills that you can progress into front crawl swimming itself. Now I like to call these drills 6 and 1 or 6 and 3. Now what this will mean is 6 seconds kicking with one arm in front of you. So one arm is straight out in front of you in line with your shoulder, and the other arm is by your hips. So what you're going to do is kick for 6 seconds and then use your front crawl arm over the water, the recovery part of the stroke, and switching arms. So you're laying on your front, kick in for 6 seconds with your head still focusing on the right position, so not looking forward, and then switching and using one arm pull. You can repeat that down the pool. That can be a 25-meter drill or 50-meter drill. The 6 and 3 drill goes without saying really, it's a little bit of a progression. So you kick with one arm in line with your shoulder for 6 seconds, and then you do 3 strokes so that you still end up laying on a different arm in the water, but you can still focus on the head position, keeping your head still, not looking forward again. As you do this drill, you can progress up to less time spent in the same position, and you can progress it into actual normal front crawl swimming. Keep in mind that when you breathe, as soon as you turn to put your face back in the water, don't let it drift forward again. Try and make sure you're focusing on either looking straight down or just in front of you. So the 6 and 1 drill, progress to the 6 and 3 drill, and then progress that into more front crawl swimming. The second common mistake that I see swimmers make is actually hand entry. So as somebody's front crawl hand enters the water, I see a lot of palms going in first. So what I would recommend is fingers in first. I see a lot of this. So your hands are going like this, and the palm of your hand actually enters the water first. So what that does is completely create more resistance than what needs to happen, and it just looks wrong. It will not help. So what you need to do is think about fingertips in first. So by having a poor hand entry, a consequence of this is creating more resistance. If you think about your fingertips going in at an angle, so fingertips in first, you're not creating much resistance. I always say to swimmers that you've got to pierce the water, or you're cutting through the water like a knife through butter. In contrast, I see a lot of swimmers entering with the palms of their hand, and they're creating a lot of resistance, a lot of splash, and this therefore slows the swimmer down. So a correction for poor hand entry actually involves more equipment. I would highly recommend paddles to put on your hands. These can be finger paddles or normal paddles. And what paddles will get you to understand is that you can't place the palm of your hand in the water before your fingers. If you do this, you're going to really feel added resistance, because the paddle gives us added resistance. So it's a great piece of equipment to actually help you think about the correct hand entry. If your hand entry is wrong, it's going to throw your hand in the water in different directions, again resulting in problems going forward. Try paddles, give them a go, and you've got to make sure that with them on, you're pointing your fingertips into the water first on your hand entry. If you don't want to use equipment again, or you don't have access to hand paddles or finger paddles, then a really great tip for you is silent freestyle swimming. So this drill, as by its title, means swimming as quiet as you can. Now, your hand entry position is fairly close to your ears on front crawl. Therefore, if you create lots of splash, then you are going to hear this. But I want you to swim slowly and carefully. So to be as efficient as possible, we shouldn't be creating any splash with your hand entry. So silent freestyle is a great drill to ensure that your fingertips are entering the water first. This really actually is harder than it sounds, and I see a lot of swimmers doing it for the first time, where they're just racing up and down and not thinking about what they're doing. So I recommend a good few repeats of this. I would say do at least 8 repeats of 25-meter swims or 50-meter swims, just thinking about silent freestyle hands. If you really hear a lot of noise created by your hands, and that can really mean that you're not putting your fingers in first. That could be your hand slapping the water, that could be your wrist hitting the water first, and what you really need to be thinking about is keeping a high elbow over the top of the water so that your fingers can go in first. So if your elbow doesn't come out high, you're probably going to slap the water. If you get your elbow up high to the ceiling, you can see the angle that creates with your fingers, and that's going to be a great entry point, creating little noise, therefore little resistance, and therefore more efficient swimming. An additional comment on this really does not matter what level of swimmer you are. I see quite a lot of elite level swimmers or triathlon swimmers that slap the water, and they can go up and down and they can do 5 kilometers just like that, but they're working so much harder than they need to because they're not swimming efficiently. They might feel like they are, but their hand position is awful. They're slapping the water and they could do even better than what they're already doing. Hands crossing over the center line of your body. This is arguably the most common mistake that I see swimmers make. Again, this is a mistake that can happen at most levels, from beginner towards competitive swimming. A lot of swimmers that I watch will enter, even if they enter with their fingers first, and then their hand comes across their body. And this, as a consequence, results in snaking down the pool, so actually swimming side to side. And what you need to think about is that every time your hand pulls from across the body, pulls on the water, you're actually moving sideways, and therefore you're not always moving forward or directly forward in the water. Needless to say that this is not efficient, and you're pulling in different directions, just making it so much harder for you to swim efficiently. A lot of people watching this video will have the goal of being able to swim up and down, whether it's for fun, for fitness, for competition, and just be able to feel like you can swim up and down without really getting as tired as how you currently feel. And if you cross over the center line of your body on front crawl, you are just adding so much more energy that you're having to put in just to make every stroke and every length. So if you can conquer this area of your front crawl swimming, then you're really onto a winner. To swim efficiently, what a swimmer should be thinking about is hand entry with their fingertips, like we discussed in the previous point, and then your arm and your hand should be in line with your shoulders at the front of your stroke. So there's a center line, an imaginary center line that runs down the middle of your body. If you cross that, you're going to pull the water and you're not directly moving forward. Just by doing this and having your hands in line with your shoulders, you're then going to catch hold of the water, and you're going to be in the right position to not only push the water back, but to be thinking about, I want you to think about this, you're moving directly forward, therefore you're creating less drag by not moving sideways, and you're creating less resistance. You're using less energy to move forward, which is the correct result that we are after. So what are some good drills to focus on if you're a swimmer that crosses the center line of your body? Now again, I would recommend a snorkel, because with a snorkel on, I might let you look forward on this part just to see where your hands are actually going. If you've got a snorkel on that goes in front of your nose, over your head, then you've already got kind of a center line that you can see along, and don't let your arms cross over that middle point of your body, so you can actually watch what your hands are doing. Obviously, I don't mean always look forward on front crawl like we said on the first point, but you can watch what your hands are doing and try and get them in line with your shoulders. A really good drill that I like to give swimmers for this problem is to actually hold a pull buoy. So you've got one arm long, you've got your hand resting or grabbing the pull buoy, and that creates an area where your other arm can't hit. The pull buoy's there. I want you to focus on arm in line with your shoulder or hand in line with your shoulder at the front of your stroke, but I want you to focus on the arm that you're using to swim with. Stay into the left or the right side of your pull buoy, depending on what arm you're using. And this then sets you up for a really good catch position on front crawl. So a snorkel will be really beneficial to see what's going on, and you can analyse your own stroke and make sure your arms aren't crossing over. Or use a pull buoy to make sure that your hand is not going underneath that piece of equipment. I want you to make sure that your hand goes in line with your shoulder before catching hold of the water. Point number 4 is having too much of a knee bend on your front crawl kick. I see quite a lot of people during public swim time at least bend their knees too much. If you just think about this for a moment, if you bend your knees too much, your knees then go lower in the water, and if I'm swimming towards you with my knees low in the water, you can see more of my body, therefore it's creating more frontal drag or more resistance. This will slow you down. You're going to lose out from the propulsion that you could possibly have if your knees are in the right position. Kicking from the hips and having a small knee bend will place your legs in the correct position to be most effective. A really good correction for this then is to actually swim with a pull buoy. And I know when you swim with a pull buoy, you shouldn't really use your legs. However, I'm going to encourage you to actually use your legs on this drill. So it's front crawl arms, but with a pull buoy in between your legs, and you're allowed to kick, so you're still doing your flutter kick. Now this is something that can be used as a progression drill, and you can then take the pull buoy out once you've done a few lengths kicking with the pull buoy in. And the goal is to see if you can keep your legs in the same position as what you've done when you had a pull buoy in. So that's a really good focus for you to make sure you're not bending your knees too much. Okay then, so we've got to my last common mistake that I see on front crawl swimming. The last common mistake is not pointing your toes on front crawl kick. Now this is something that is called plantar flexion. If you point your toes away from your body, I see too many people actually dorsiflexing their foot, which means instead of pointing them away from you, they're actually lifting their toes up, creating a really stiff ankle and just not gaining any propulsion from this. So they're kicking like mad and they're not moving anywhere. A consequence for not pointing your toes is going to be less propulsion from your leg kick. And if you have less propulsion from your leg kick, it's not going to aid the rest of your body as much as what it could do. Therefore, you're not really gaining any momentum from the back end of your stroke. You're relying on your arms, and this is also going to result in your legs tiring and fatiguing a lot quicker than what they would if you're pointing your toes. So all in all, it's like a cycle of decline, and you're not going to swim as far, as effective and efficiently. It's really going to tire you out. Pointing your toes is something that you can practice in the water and on dry land. And to be able to have a really good leg kick on any stroke, you need to make sure that you have good ankle flexibility. Now this is something that I suffer on with one leg of mine because I have cerebral palsy, which means my right leg is quite stiff. However, I do work on ankle flexibility actually at home and in the gym. So I like to do an exercise where you kneel on your knees and you're actually sitting your bottom on your feet, and you're then lifting your knees off the floor to stretch your ankles. Now this is something that you can build into and over time create a better ankle flexibility. Swimmers that have better ankle flexibility can genuinely gain more power and propulsion from their leg kick. So this is something that I'd actually recommend. It's not just what you do in the pool, it's also what you do outside of the pool, as we should all know. However, something you can do in the pool is again another little drill that I will provide you. Grab a float, do some leg kick, but start off floating, and I want you to kick your legs but with your feet not pointed. So I want your feet dorsiflexed and kick and see how far you move. Maybe do this for about 10 seconds, so count to 10 in your head, and then point your toes away from your body. So you've got plantar flexed feet, and this should, you should feel a massive impact straight away. So from kicking like this to then pointing your toes, you should really feel that propulsion move you forward. And hopefully this can be another progression drill where you can kick for longer with pointed toes and then take this into your full stroke. So they are the 5 common mistakes that I see swimmers make. I hope that you can gain knowledge from this video and actually take this into your swimming as well. If this is something that applies to you, any of these points, then please drop that down in the comment section below. The areas that I've covered in this video that you have found that you struggle with. Obviously it goes without saying, if you like this video then please smash that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, stay tuned to my channel, and hopefully I can help you more in future. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.